They laughed at his dive maneuver. They said it was stupid, outdated, primitive, but in one sky duel, 9 enemy fighters never made it home. The dive they laughed at, September 1st, 1942, 28,000 feet above the western desert near El Alamein. The sun hangs low over North Africa, bleaching the sky a harsh, metallic blue. Inside the cramped cockpit of a Messerschmitt Bf 109G, Hauptmann Hans Joachim Marseille tightens his gloved hand around the control stick. The engine vibrates through his bones. Sweat pools beneath his flight helmet, despite the altitude. Below him, the desert looks calm, too calm. Then the radio crackles. Enemy fighters, dozens. Marseille tilts his head, eyes narrowing behind scratched goggles. He counts them instinctively, British Kitty Hawks and Spitfires, stacked in loose formation, cruising with confidence. They don't see him yet. They never do. Behind him, in another Messerschmitt, a younger pilot speaks over the radio, his voice edged with disbelief. "Herr Hauptmann, you're going straight down again?" It isn't a question. It's an accusation. Marseille doesn't answer. For weeks, even months, whispers have followed him through the squadron tents. His flying is reckless, they say, wasteful, insane. While other aces preach altitude discipline and formation kills, Marseille prefers solitude, climbing higher than anyone else, then plunging almost vertically toward the enemy. No long pursuit, no turning fights. Just one dive, one shot, one kill. They call it the stupid dive. His superiors tolerate it only because it works most of the time. But today is different. Today the sky is crowded. Today, one mistake means death. Marseille pushes the throttle forward. The Daimler-Benz engine howls. The Messerschmitt tips forward and drops. The horizon flips. Gravity crushes him into the seat as the aircraft screams downward at nearly 500 miles per hour. The wind hammers the canopy. The desert spins into a blur of sand and shadow. Up ahead, the British formation grows larger by the second. Too fast, some would say. Too fast to aim. But Marseille has done this before. At 2,000 meters, he kicks the rudder hard left. The aircraft snaps sideways. For a split second, a Kitty Hawk fills his gun sight shocked, slow, fat with fuel. Marseille fires. A short burst. Less than 2 seconds. The Kitty Hawk's cockpit erupts in fragments. The aircraft rolls violently, trailing smoke, then vanishes into the desert below. Marseille is already gone. He pulls up sharply, climbing back into the sun, disappearing before the enemy can react. One kill. The radio explodes with frantic British chatter. The formation breaks, scattering like startled birds. Pilots yank their aircraft into defensive turns, searching the sky. They still don't see him. Marseille climbs again higher, always higher, until the world below looks unreal. The engine strains. His breath comes shallow in the thin air. Another dive. This time, 2 Spitfires cross beneath him, engines roaring, noses up, hunting a target that isn't there. Marseille drops between them like a falling knife. 2 bursts, 2 explosions. Both Spitfires shatter almost simultaneously, wings tearing free, fuselages twisting into fire. 3 kills. The radio behind him is silent now. Even his own men are holding their breath. But the battle has only begun. British pilots regroup quickly. They climb, trying to regain altitude advantage. Tracers streak upward, red and white lines clawing at the sky. One round slams into Marseille's wing. Another punches through the fuselage, missing his leg by inches. He doesn't flinch. Instead, he rolls inverted and dives again straight through the center of the chaos. This time, he doesn't pull up immediately. He stays. At close range, terrifyingly close, Marseille picks targets faster than thought. A Hurricane turning left, a Kitty Hawk climbing too steeply, a Spitfire bleeding energy in a desperate roll. Fire. Explode. Fire again. The sky becomes a graveyard of burning metal. 5 kills. Then 6. Smoke fills the cockpit. The engine coughs. Warning lights flicker. Marseille feels the aircraft shudder, wounded, but alive. A British pilot flashes past his canopy, face visible for a heartbeat, eyes wide with fear. Marseille fires from less than 50 meters. 7. The remaining enemy pilots break completely now. Some dive for the deck, others flee west, engines screaming. Discipline is gone. Formation is gone. Fear rules the sky. Marseille climbs once more, lungs burning, hands shaking for the first time. Below him, 2 fighters remain wounded, isolated, slow. He dives. Again, 9 victories before the sun set. September 1st, 1942. The same sky. Minutes later. The Messerschmitt plunges for the 3rd time, its engine howling like an injured animal. The airframe rattles violently now. Shrapnel scars the wings. Fuel leaks somewhere behind the cockpit, filling the air with a sharp metallic smell. Marseille doesn't look at the damage. He looks at the prey. One of the remaining fighters tries to climb away, nose high, bleeding speed. The pilot makes the oldest mistake in aerial combat, pulling up instead of turning. Marseille angles his dive to intercept, calculating instinctively. Distance, closure, rate, deflection. At 30 meters, he fires. The enemy aircraft disintegrates mid-climb, pieces spinning away in slow motion. The explosion rocks Marseille's cockpit, slamming his head against the canopy. 8. Only 1 left. The last British fighter dives hard for the desert, hugging the ground, trying to vanish into heat, haze, and dust. Tracers snap past Marseille as ground fire joins the chaos below. The sky, moments ago crowded with aircraft, now feels eerily empty. Most pilots would let him go. Marseille doesn't. He follows, not diving steeply this time, but sliding into a shallow pursuit, keeping speed without overshooting. The desert rushes closer. Shadows of aircraft flicker across the sand. At less than 100 meters altitude, the British pilot jinks violently left, then right, then pulls up again in panic. His movements are wild now. Fear has taken over. Marseille steadies his aim. He fires one last burst. The fighter's engine explodes in a blossom of flame. The aircraft cartwheels into the sand, erupting in dust and smoke that lingers long after impact. 9. For a moment, there is only silence. Then Marseille exhales long, slow, exhausted. His hands are shaking now. His mouth tastes of oil and blood. The warning lights glow steadily, accusingly. He checks his fuel. Almost gone. He turns for home. Minutes later, battered Messerschmitts land one by one at the desert airstrip. Ground crews run forward, staring at bullet-riddled wings, shattered canopies, leaking fuel lines. Marseille's aircraft rolls to a stop, engine coughing its last breath. When he climbs out of the cockpit, the mechanics just stare. One finally breaks the silence. How many? Marseille shrugs, removing his helmet. I don't know. Several. The truth spreads anyway. 9 enemy fighters destroyed in one engagement in under 10 minutes. No formation kills, no shared victories, no elaborate tactics. Just dives. Brutal, precise, relentless dives. That evening, officers gather around a rough wooden table inside the command tent. Maps are spread out. Cigarette smoke hangs thick in the air. For once, no one interrupts Marseille as he explains what he did, how altitude became a weapon, how speed replaced turning, how closing distance eliminated wasted ammunition. The same officers who once dismissed his flying as foolish now listen in complete silence. One of them finally speaks. Your dive. It shouldn't work. Marseille looks up. It does, he replies quietly. Within weeks, the nickname spreads across both sides of the front. To the British, he becomes something else entirely, a phantom, a shadow from the sun, a pilot who doesn't dogfight, but falls on you. Pilots begin warning each other over the radio. Watch the vertical. Stay out of the sun. He dives straight through. But fear changes nothing. Because the tactic isn't about surprise alone, it's about speed, precision, and nerve. It demands perfect timing and absolute commitment. There is no second chance in a vertical dive. Miss, and you die. That's why most pilots never attempt it. And that's why Marseille succeeds. By the end of the desert campaign, his victories are no longer questioned. The laughter is gone. The doubts are gone. Only the results remain: burned wreckage scattered across the sand, and enemy formations that break apart at the first hint of a high-altitude shadow. The dive they once mocked becomes studied, copied, taught, but never mastered the same way. Because tactics can be learned, instinct cannot. And on that day, over the western desert, 9 fighters learned too late that sometimes the most dangerous move in war is the one everyone else is too afraid to try.